Hey guys, Film Recaps here, and today we're covering a 1997 thriller movie called Funny Games. The movie starts with a family going on a road trip. The couple is playing a game where one of them plays a song and the other one tries to guess the song. Their son is sitting in the backseat. They are also towing a boat with their car. They stop at a house and ask some of their friends who are staying there to help them lower the boat into the water. After that, they kept driving and talked about how the people were behaving weirdly. After a couple of minutes, they reach a house. They enter the house and settle in as their dog Rolfie keeps getting in everyone's way. He starts to annoy George as he is bringing stuff inside the house. Rolfie puts his head in the fridge as Anna is trying to put stuff inside. She makes George take Rolfie outside. Their friend Fred and a young boy named Paul are at the door. Anna calls Rolfie inside while George and Fred chat with each other. Anna also comes out to greet Fred and Paul. After a while, Anna and Rolfie are standing on the deck while George teaches Georgie how to ride a boat. Georgie helps his father to set up the boat while he asks him why his friend Sissy isn't there with Uncle Fred. George promises to ask Fred. Little Georgie asks why his Uncle Fred is so weird. Inside the house, Anna starts preparing for lunch after feeding the dog. She is talking on the phone and inviting her friend to come over and spend the weekend. Georgie comes to the kitchen and asks for a sharp knife for his father. She gives it to him and returns to her call while cutting some meat. Georgie returns and tells Anna that someone is at the door. A young guy named Peter walks in and tells her that Fred's wife Eva needs 4 eggs. Anna gives him the eggs and goes back to work. As Peter leaves the kitchen, Anna hears a sound and comes out to find broken eggs on the floor. She cleans it up as he apologizes. She returns to the kitchen and he follows her apologizing. She asks what he'll do and gives him 4 more. He, by chance, drops her phone in the sink and it stops working. He repeatedly apologizes. She asks him to leave with the eggs and wraps them up for him. She sits down and laughs when he leaves. Inside the house, Anna starts lunch preparation again but comes out of the kitchen to find that Peter is afraid to leave because of the dog. Anna tries to make Rolfie leave the door. Paul is also standing there with Peter. He compliments George's golf clubs and asks if he can take one to try it out. Anna hesitates but allows it outside. The father-son duo wonders why Rolfie is continuously barking, but then he suddenly stops. Anna goes out to look for Paul and he returns with the golf club. She gets fed up with the two and asks them to leave and stop playing their game. They ask her not to be rude and she tries to push Peter out of the front door when George arrives. He asks what is happening and Peter tells him that he just wanted some eggs. She hands George the eggs and walks inside. George asks the boys to leave but they don't. They talk to him in a rude way and it makes George angry. They cuss at him and he slaps Paul. Paul hits him and he falls in return. Georgie also tries to help and runs to his mother, who comes out of her room to see what happened. They help George up on a chair and ask them to take a look at his injury. He asks them to leave but they refuse. They insist on staying to help. The family is very scared now. Anna asks them where Rolf is. Paul takes her out and she walks around the house. Anna soon finds the dog and opens her car door, and then Rolf's dead body falls out. Inside the house, Peter is standing at the front door and asks Georgie to get him a snack. Georgie goes to the kitchen and Peter warns him not to get a knife. Georgie brings him a snack and he thanks him. Her friends Gerda and Robert are calling Anna from a boat. Paul says she knows what to do. Anna greets them and helps them onshore. Gerda meets up with Paul and Anna and she chats with them for a while, after which they go back in the water. Inside the house, Georgie and Anna sit on a couch. Paul and Peter ask to help but he refuses. Peter puts his foot on George's leg wound and causes him to scream in pain. He takes it off and Paul and Peter sit down on the opposite couch while Anna breaks down and starts to cry. The family huddled together. George asks what they want and Paul asks Peter the same question. Then he goes on about how Peter was born in a poor family with 5 siblings and that his mother used to sexually assault him. Peter starts to cry and is angry at Paul. But then Paul reveals that this story is a lie and Peter gets better instantly. Paul tells George that they only did this because of boredom. They bet with them that all 3 of them will be dead by 9 in the morning. Peter says he's hungry and gets up to see what's in the kitchen. Paul keeps making up things and tells George that both of them are drug addicts and steal from rich people. Peter comes back with sausage and sits down. George asks them to take anything they want and leave. Peter asks Anna to make dinner. Paul makes fun of Peter and calls him fat and ugly. He gives him Anna's example and shows him how skinny and attractive she is. Paul tells him that she'll never be attracted to Peter. Anna gets up from the couch. Paul asks for Georgie's name and tells them that they'll play a little game. Paul sits Georgie down with him and puts a pillowcase on his head. He squirms but Paul hits him. Anna tries to help him but Peter stops her. Paul tells her that they are playing a game called Kitten in the Bag, and they put the pillowcase on the kid's head to preserve moral decency. He tells Anna to strip and George begs him to stop. Paul keeps hurting Georgie to make Anna take her clothes off. He tells George to instruct her to strip. And he does. Peter sits down as Anna starts taking her clothes off. She takes everything off besides her necklace. Paul congratulates her and tells her she has no flab on her body and allows her to put her clothes back on. As she is getting dressed, Paul hands Georgie over to Peter because Georgie defected in his pants. Peter tries to take him away but George and Anna leap at him. Paul jumps on George while the kid runs away upstairs. Paul tapes Anna's hands and legs together as Ben puts George on the couch. Paul goes after Georgie. Georgie escapes from the upstairs window. He tries to jump over the gate but fails, so he uses the lake to reach the next house and Paul follows him there. When Georgie reaches the house, all the lights outside the house turn on. He opens the door and hurries inside. In the house, Peter puts George on a couch and sits down. He apologizes to Anna and asks her husband if he is in pain. He tells them that it is a big price to pay for humiliating him just for asking for some eggs. He gets up and goes to the kitchen to bring the eggs. Anna jumps over to George and he tries to free her hands, but Peter arrives in time and pulls her away, dropping her on the floor. He drops the eggs and breaks them on the carpet. Anna begs him to let them go. She promises not to tell anyone and that they'll make everything look like an accident. Peter tells her that this is all just as uncomfortable for him as it is for her. In the next house, Georgie takes his overalls off. He hears Paul looking for him and runs to hide behind a closet. He notices a shotgun lying on the floor in the bathroom and heads over to pick it up but notices a dead body in there and tries to run. Paul calls for him again and Georgie comes back and takes the gun with him. He hides and waits for Paul. Paul shouts that he'll put some music on and puts a heavy metal record on. Georgie tries to escape but Paul finds him. Georgie threatens to shoot him and Paul smiles, realizing that he doesn't know how to use a gun. He approaches Georgie as he breaks into a sweat. Back in Anna's lounge, Peter is flicking through the channels as Paul brings Georgie back. Georgie hugs his mom and tells her that the boys killed Sissy. Paul asks Peter if everything is alright as he hands him the shotgun. He tells George that his kid tried to kill him with it. Paul reminds them about their bet and leaves the gun with Peter to get some food from the kitchen. In the kitchen, Paul is making sandwiches while he hears a gunshot and wails from the lounge. He makes his sandwich and comes out to the lounge to tell Peter that he shouldn't have shot at them. He says they got the game wrong so they should leave. They say that and leave through the front door. In the lounge, blood is splattered on the TV and wall while George is on the floor and Georgie is lying dead in front of the TV. Anna is sitting there in shock. She gets up and turns off the TV. She jumps to the kitchen to get a knife as George gets up as well. He sits on the floor and starts wailing. Anna comes and hugs him as he cries. Both of them cry and Anna tries to calm him down. They sit on the floor for a long time before Anna suggests they get out of there in case the boys come back. She helps George up on her shoulders and he cries in pain. Anna tries to look at Georgie's dead body but George stops him as they try to make it out of the house. George limos and screams as Anna helps him on her shoulders. They realize that all the doors are locked. George advises Anna to jump out of a window and cut the fence with pliers to reach the nearest inn. She asks where they are and he tells her that they are in the boat shed. She is hesitant to leave without him but he tells her to put some shoes and clothes on. He advises her to be quick, assuring her that he'll lock himself inside and wait for her to come back. Anna puts on a pair of George's jeans and his sweater along with some Converse and heads to the kitchen to find her phone still working. She asks who they should call. Some of the contacts on the phone aren't working and Anna tries to dry the phone to make it work better but it doesn't work. George suggests using a hairdryer. Anna helps him sit and goes to get the dryer while George tries the phone. Anna gets the dryer. She throws up a little and starts using the dryer to dry the phone in the kitchen. She tries to call someone but it doesn't work. George asks her to leave it and she draws his chair inside the kitchen. After that, he asks her to run and begs her forgiveness. She kisses him. She cries and tells her she loves him as George urges her to run. She runs to the fence and cuts it with pliers. George is still trying to make the phone with the dryer. He stops for a minute to eat something and then continues. Anna is outside and is screaming for help. Inside, George manages to make a call for help to a guy named Peter. He can't hear him very well and tries again but the phone stops working. He tries to get up from his chair using the counter. Anna is running outside in the street to find help. She sees headlights from an approaching van and hides in the bushes. When it passes by she jumps out and tries to stop the van but it drives off. She starts walking and sees another car approaching them. At the house, George covers his son's dead body with a blanket. He starts to limp back to the kitchen but hears the door open. He calls for Anna but a golf ball rolls in and Paul and Peter walk in and announce that it's playtime again. In the next scene, the couple is lying on the couch. Anna is gagged while George is all beat up and bloody. The two boys are holding guns and arguing. Paul picks up a knife and approaches Anna. He tells her to remember their bet and that they have to play a new game. She has to lick if her husband dies without a small knife or a gun. Paul stabs him with a knife and warns her that she has to follow the rules or George will pay. Paul tells her that if she can recite her favorite prayer, she can choose the next move. She replies that she doesn't know any. Paul asks Peter for prayer and he tells her one. She says it on the couch but Paul makes her kneel on the floor and says it. After that, He tells her that it was a trial run and that she has to do a harder prayer again. She sees her chance and picks up the gun and shoots Peter. Paul starts to look for the remote, finds it, and rewinds to when he was doing the rules. Anna tries to pick up the gun again, but Paul gets it this time and accuses her of cheating. He shoots George and both of them tie up Anna and take her in the boat with them. She tries to cut herself loose, but they grab her and throw her in the water. Peter says there is an hour left in the deadline, to which Paul replies that he is hungry, and they laugh. They keep talking about fictional films as they come back to shore. They get off the boat and Paul walks up to a house. He knocks and asks if anyone is up. The woman named Gerda opens the door and Paul innocently asks her for some eggs and she invites him in. He smirks at the camera and the movie ends. Thanks for watching, guys.